How's it rockin', Dween Nation? This is the Dween Sports Podcast. We're about to get underway. But before we do, we'd love if you could like, comment, subscribe, or share. We are posting weekly sports content, and we want to build up the brand that is Dween Sports. Thank you all, and enjoy.
What's up, Dween Nation? This is your host, Justin Paez, alongside Janoah, Agudelo, and the NBA playoffs are set, or at least the play-in games and everything are set. It starts tonight with Golden State and Memphis and Orlando and Atlanta. Very exciting. We got our Rockets back in the playoffs after 4 seasons. So there's a little bit extra motivation. I'm really excited to watch all these games, and this episode is to predict who we think is going to be crowned the NBA champion, when we hit June. But we're gonna start that here. But before we talk about all of that, how you doing, my brother?
Yo, Dween Nation. Justin, I'm doing amazing. It is a great time to be a Rockets fan. Basketball in Houston specifically is just taking over. And I couldn't be more excited there, Justin. Not to mention that we're not going to be playing until Sunday night. So we have some time to rest. And we're going to get into who we're going to be playing here in just a second, because tonight we have some great matchups. And Justin, there's nothing like a Saturday afternoon kickoff of playoffs. It's just nothing like it. There's always that, crazy game one, or maybe even like a game two a few days later. Or occasionally there'll be a road team that steals a victory.
Oh, yeah.
And it just makes the series so much interesting, Justin. I do have a lot of upsets. I'm so excited to get into this episode. And man, Justin, I believe that we might be crowning a new champion with the defending champion. Celtics are the second seed, but I think that they can be beat.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like all these teams this year have a little bit of holes. A couple of months ago, I had the Thunder as like a clear, far and away favorite. We'll discuss more of it, but I feel like there have been a little holes poked in their game. We'll discuss it there. But I want to give you the floor here. You have the playoffs in front of you. How do you think everything's going to play off? You can go game by game and series by series all the way to the final two.
Okay, so here's what happens tonight. I think tonight, let's start with the West. Okay. Tonight, I think Golden State wins. Not to mention, a few weeks ago, Steph Curry dropped 54 in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And I think that with the Grizzlies, they've been shot in the back, right? They fired Taylor Jenkins just a few weeks ago. They were at one point just in the 3rd, 4th seed, and they slid all the way down to the 8th seed. They let the Clippers catch up and get the 5th seed. Minnesota had some injuries with Ant there, and they were able to get a 6th seed. And even with the Nuggets firing Mike Malone, which we talked about on TikTok just a week ago, still were able to secure a top 4 seed in the West there, Justin. So Memphis is in trouble, in my opinion. I think that there's a lot of questions going into the offseason. I do love this Memphis core. I'm a big Jaren Jackson fan, Jaren Jackson Jr. I do like Desmond Bane, He's a great shooter. I just think that tonight it's in Golden State. I think that Steph Curry and Draymond, they've been in this situation for the past 10 seasons now. Just this summer, Justin, will be the 10-year anniversary since the first Golden State championship since the 70s, right? This was the championship that kicked off the dynasty. Andre Iguodala was the MVP. And so this summer will be 10 seasons with Steve Kerr as the head coach. And so they have a ton of experience. They've been through so much. Obviously, Klay Thompson's no longer part of the team, but that doesn't matter. I think Buddy, Moses Moody, and even Kuminga have some great games. Pajinski and all them. And so I think that they prevail. So they win tonight. And they go to Houston. Justin, not a couple Sundays ago, or a couple Sundays ago, I believe, or Saturdays, they played each other in Golden State. Amen Thompson was able to lock them up. So I think that they want to play Houston. And then on the other side, that would then send Memphis to play the winner of Sacramento and Dallas, which Dallas is playing a little scrappy. They're still trying to make the play. And Nico Harrison just wrapped up a press conference doubling down on his, blockbuster move that kind of ruined their franchise in some ways. But I do think that Memphis is able to beat the winner of Dallas or Sacramento. Remember, Sacramento also fired their head coach, Justin. And Dallas, I think, honestly, Justin, everybody in Dallas is just ready for the season to be over. All the players are still trying to process that big move, losing Kyrie Irving as well. And I think that Memphis is going to be the 8th seed. So how it plays out, I think that Memphis can steal one against the Thunder, but I do think the Thunder win in 5. So Thunder win there. I'm afraid, though, for my Rockets to play the Warriors. Let's just say the Warriors beat my Rockets, because I'm experience kind of favors everyone in the playoffs. I don't want to, put too much pressure on my Rockets. So let's say the Warriors beat my Rockets in 7. So then that leaves the Thunder and I think that they would play the 4th and 5th seed, correct? The
Thunder
4th and
would
5th
play,
seed.
yeah, the winner of
The
Denver and
of
LA.
Okay, this series is very interesting, Justin. I really like what's going on in LA with the Clippers. They got a new arena. James Harden is back to being Houston James Harden. The past couple years with Philadelphia and Brooklyn, he was kind of in a haze. He wasn't himself. But now that you have a healthy Kawhi Leonard, Justin, remember, since Kawhi Leonard has been in LA, Justin, he really hasn't really completed a full postseason. Even the year in 2021 when the Clippers made the Western Conference Finals, he wasn't a part of, that active roster. But here's Kawhi Leonard. Justin, I want to say this is the first time since the bubble he's healthy, even since the 2019 finals, in his one and only season with Toronto. He is back and he's playing healthy. He is full Terminator mode. And Justin, I like the Clippers in 6 to knock off the Nuggets. I think Jokic does have a great game 2 or game 3. But with the firing of Mike Malone just a week and a half ago, it's not enough time to adjust with Ty Lue and this, really good orchestrated Clippers roster. Norman Powell's played pretty good. I think Zubac can contain Jokic for one victory out of the 4 wins in that series. He's still Jokic. He's still a top 10 center now, in my opinion, maybe like a top 7 center of all time. So I think that Jokic still has his, double-double, near triple-double. But I think Zubac can slow him for one game, maybe a game 1 or game 2 victory. But it is in Denver. So it's very interesting. I do think Denver takes game 1, but I think Clippers take 3 in a row. Denver gets another one, and then they kind of close it out game 6 in LA. So give me the Clippers to advance to beat the Nuggets. And then Justin, Ant-Man versus Luka once again in the playoffs. But this time he's in LA, right? These two kind of faced off in the Western Conference Finals last year. And I think Luka is ready to go. Luka has brought so much energy to this, to this Lakers organization. I think if it wasn't for the Luka trade, they could be a 5th or 6th seed with AD. You probably wouldn't have played that much games there. But I do like the Lakers in 5. So just the second round, we have the Thunder versus the Clippers. James Harden returns to Oklahoma City. And then we do have, I believe, the Lakers and Golden State, right? That would be the matchup there. And so, the Lakers and Golden State Warriors played a couple years ago in the second round. This was with Klay Thompson. I think the Lakers, Justin, beat the Warriors in 5. Luka is on fire. And then, Justin, the Clippers take the Thunder to 7 games, but I think the Thunder prevail and they meet the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. And I think the Lakers beat them in 7, Justin. I think that the Lakers have so much energy, not to mention the history of rookie head coaches in Los Angeles. You got Pat Riley, you got Phil Jackson. Well, not rookie head coaches, but their first year in Los Angeles, it's always gold and dynamite. Not to mention Frank Vogel, I believe his first year takes the Lakers in the bubble championship. And I want to say Phil Jackson, he left the Lakers for a couple years in the middle. And I think he comes back, I want to say in 08, 07. Kobe Bryant, the late, great Kobe Bryant, wins MVP. They do go to the finals and lose to Boston. But still, these Laker head coaches in their first year or their first year back or their rookie year, Pat Riley and all these guys, they were able to make the finals, at least, or the Western Conference Finals. And I want to say Darvin Ham, just a few years ago, I think in his first year, he was able to take the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals against Denver. I know they got swept, but they ran into a buzzsaw, which was Denver at that point. So these first-year head coaches in Los Angeles, I think that history repeats itself, and the Lakers are going to the finals. Let's go to the East real quick. I'll make this fast because the East is a little bit, I wouldn't say it's a pushover, but it's not as competitive as the West is. So I want to say tonight, I think the Magic win. So they go to Boston, and I think Atlanta, I think they beat the Heat because I think the Heat win tonight or tomorrow night, I believe. And I think Atlanta goes to Cleveland. So Atlanta will lose in 5 to Cleveland, and Boston will beat the Magic in 6. I think Magic is really good to steal 2. I think they get 1 in Boston and 1 in Orlando. So give me the Celtics beating the Magic in 6, the Cavaliers beating the Hawks, I said, in 5. Mm-hmm. So, and then we go to Indianapolis and Milwaukee. Justin news just an hour ago that Dame Lillard will miss, I think, the first 2 games against the Pacers. This is kind of the thing that happened last season with the Pacers beating the Bucks. And I think Dame Lillard, I just got there. But I think things go different this time. I like Milwaukee a little bit to beat I would say they beat the Pacers in 6. I don't think the Pacers are that much of a threat against any team. They might be one of the weaker four seeds I've ever really seen. So I like Milwaukee to beat the Pacers in 6. Knicks and Pistons, very interesting. I want to say the Knicks take it to 6 or 7, but I think that the Pistons are still raw, still young. I like the Knicks in 5 there. So let's run it down real quick. Cavaliers, Milwaukee, and then it's New York and Boston. Now, New York and Boston, Justin, I think it goes to 7. That rivalry with New York and Boston go a long way. I think I'm lining this up right, Justin? It's New York and Boston, and then Milwaukee and Cleveland. Okay.
Correct.
I think, Justin, the Cavaliers beat Milwaukee in 6 games. So that will be Cleveland meets Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals with LA waiting there. And Justin, I think, both of these series will mean something for LeBron, right? So he will be meeting rather his former team in the finals, or he'll be meeting their franchise's biggest rival, Boston, right, in the finals. And I think we get Boston and we get LA in the finals. And Justin, I love LeBron. I love Luka. 7-game series. It's popcorn. And Luka gets his revenge in the final. Last year, he played Boston. They lost in 5. They got embarrassed. They almost got swept. But this year, Luka gets his revenge on the Celtics. And he wins finals MVP for the first time in LeBron's career. He wins the finals, but does not get the finals MVP. Luka averages nearly 32 points per game in the finals, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. LeBron, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists in that series. And the Lakers win the finals in 7.
I love that. That is phenomenal popcorn watching NBA basketball that we've been missing. I feel the NBA might be slightly missing something. Luka Magic would be wonderful. He comes back to the finals after the last year. Surprisingly, it's not with Dallas, obviously. He's with LA. He's with LeBron James, with JJ Redick as his first year with the Lakers. A lot of people clown the hire, so that would be so much affirmation for JJ and for the Lakers organization to see that payoff. But they have a great roster. They're really coming into form, so I see it. I completely see it. I like how you've played this out here, and I'll jump in and play it out, and we can discuss it even more. I'll start with the West as well. With the game we do have tonight, Golden State and Memphis, I'm going to continue what you said. I think it is Golden State moving on. As a Rockets fan, I want it to be Memphis badly because Memphis, they fired their coach. They've been playing not so great. They were at one point the number 2 seed. They have now fallen down to the 8th seed. So, yeah, it seems like they're struggling while Golden State's been pretty solid as of the last, couple of weeks. But Golden State will move on to play Houston, which is a scary matchup. Memphis will play the winner of Sacramento and Dallas. And I actually think Sacramento is going to find themselves in the playoffs here. I think they beat Dallas and they beat Memphis to go and lose in a sweep to OKC. That's kind of my story there. But Sacramento makes a playoff. Then we move here to Houston and Golden State. And everything you said really is on the nose with Golden State. They've been the Rockets, kryptonite for like a decade now since their dynasty started. But I do think Houston will get the better of them this time and win, move on to the next round. Houston's played pretty solid against them this year. I think they split their games across the season. Then we move Denver and the Clippers, man. The Clippers have won 16 of their last 18 games. They are on fire. Kawhi Leonard is healthy. That's really the biggest story. James Harden is also playing really well. As you were talking about, Norman Powell's had a really great season. And then on the Denver side, you have Jokic, you have Jamal Murray. You fire your coach last week. It's like, things are going to spiral. They did finish the season 3-0. So maybe there's some sort of gel that is working for them. I don't think that's going to pay off, though, not having a set it and forget a coach that's only a week into his tenure. So I am also going to go the Los Angeles Clippers to beat the Nuggets. Then the Lakers and Timberwolves, man. Luka against Ant. We'd love to see it. LeBron and possibly his last run, maybe second to last run. I do have the Lakers moving on. I actually need to pick. I think Houston's game here, they're going to win in 6, while the Clippers will win in 7, and the Lakers will win in 5. I think Minnesota, to me, is missing something. They need a secondary guy behind Ant that they just don't think Randall gives. And I think that's what they're missing there. So the Lakers will move on in 5. So then we have OKC and the Clippers. Give me the Thunder to move on to the Western Conference Finals. I think they do it in 7. I think the Clippers do. They put in all they can, but they just don't move on. And then we get Los Angeles Lakers versus the Houston Rockets. This one's a tough one. You got the Young Bucks against, I mean, I know LeBron's the older one, Luka's in his prime. I am going to go the Lakers, though, to beat my Houston Rockets, beat our Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
I think this will go to 7. This would be maybe the best series besides the finals, I think, in the entire playoffs. I'm convinced on that. So then we have the Thunder and the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. It's tough. It's really tough here, but I'm going to go with Shea and the Thunder to move on to the NBA Finals and beat Luka and beat LeBron. It's a tough task, but I think they do it in 6 games, find themselves in the finals for the first time since back with KD and Russ and James Harden. And then we move to the East. Tonight's game, Atlanta. Give me Orlando. I agree. I think that Paolo Banchero is going to have a phenomenal game. Get them on to move on. They'll play the Boston Celtics as the 7th seed. Then we get Atlanta versus Chicago or Miami. I think Miami will beat Chicago, and I think that Atlanta will beat Miami to get themselves to play the Cavs. And we'll have a full bracket set up there. Then we'll have Cleveland versus Atlanta. I think they sweep Atlanta 4-0, and Cleveland moves on. Indiana versus Milwaukee. Give me the Pacers over Milwaukee. I think Damian Lillard not coming in fully healthy. He's been out for a little while now. I think they traded for Kuzma at the deadline. It hasn't really paid off. He hasn't been that star-studded guy that we saw briefly in Washington, a good chunk in Los Angeles. So I think the Pacers move on here with Halliburton leading the charge. Then the Knicks and the Pistons. Super great to see the Pistons have a great season. I think it comes to an end here in 6 games against the Knicks. Brunson, Cat, Mikal Bridges, they have a great series. They move on and beating Detroit. Then we have Boston and Orlando. I think this is a sweep. You know what? I'll give Orlando a game. They're pretty scrappy. Boston will move on, though, to play the Knicks, which they will beat. I think they'll do it in 6 games. I think Jalen Brunson and them can get a couple games on Tatum and Brown. The scary story with Boston, Jaylen Brown is going through a little bit of a nagging injury. He had to take some injections. So we'll see if that hurts him throughout the playoffs, throughout all the games he's going out to play. So that might be something to watch for sure. But I'm going to have Boston moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Pacers and Cleveland. This is a tough one here because I really like what Indiana's doing, but I'm going to go with Cleveland. I'm going to go with Cleveland in 6. Donovan Mitchell is a baller in the playoffs. He always has been, yet he's never gone past the second round in his career. He averaged 28.1 points in his playoff tenure, which is the 7th highest all time.
Wow.
But he has not passed the second round. He does it this time around, gets himself to the Eastern Conference Finals, where we get Cleveland and Boston, and I will go with the Boston Celtics to get back to the NBA Finals, where they will play the Thunder. Boston will beat Cleveland in 7. It's going to be a fight.
Okay.
Then we move to the Finals, AC versus Boston, and I'm going to go, wow, this is a tough one. I mean, Shea versus Jason Tatum versus Jaylen Brown versus Jalen Williams versus Chet versus Kristaps. Young versus kind of prime. Man, do I go with the experience? I am going to go with the experience. I'm going with back-to-back. Boston Celtics will win in 7. This is going to be a great series. This will be the series of the playoffs. And Jason Tatum will get his Finals MVP. Jaylen Brown got it last year. Jason Tatum gets it this year. And I know a lot of NBA fans love the parity in the NBA. We've had different champions every year since Golden State, 8-9 years ago. So we've had a lot of parity. This will end. Boston will win another championship, take an extra lead over the Lakers for most NBA titles. And yeah, Jason Tatum kind of silences the haters even more. Even though he won a championship last year, he gets one this year and is the Finals MVP.
Justin, very interesting there. The Thunder in the Finals, they would have home court advantage already, right, against anybody they play. And so that Thunder home crowd, man, the last time they were in the Finals was 2012. They lost to LeBron and company there. And it's just, Justin, I just wish that there was just one more kind of dominant team. Like, I wish, like, the Bucks were the Bucks of like 2020, 2021 with Budenholzer as the head coach. And like they still had some like Chris Middleton still in his prime with Dame there. And it's just the Knicks, they're still missing like one piece there, Justin, right? And then obviously the Pistons, you don't really expect that much from them. They hadn't made the playoffs in 9 seasons. They haven't won a playoff series in like 20 since their, kind of glory days with Larry Brown as head coach, Ben Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace, all those guys. And with the let's see, the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, he's good, but he needs to really, he can't, the 16 points here and there, you need to have some 25, 30 point game performances. And with the Cavs, like they're a year away from being really that top team. And you look at the roster, Justin, it's absolutely phenomenal. You mentioned Donovan Mitchell, who he is one of the best, playoff scorers ever. I remember in the bubble, him and Jamal Murray in that first round were going at it. But he did have a 3-1 lead in that series, Justin. And, the Nuggets came back and him and Jamal Murray were going at it. They had like back-to-back 50-point, 60-point game performances, which was so bizarre. But their roster, I love me some Evan Mobley, and I really love Jared Allen. Jared Allen is like the most fundamental center I've seen in some time, like since Tim Duncan. He is like tall, lengthy. He blocks you shots. He can score in the paint. He gets you rebounds. And he is one of the most mature centers with one of the best attitudes in all of basketball. And he is literally like, we're not thinking of Jokic, you're not thinking of Embiid, but he's like one of the most prototypical like centers you can build from scratch, right? And he has that it factor. He's a force in the paint. But then you got Darius Garland, who can get you 20 and 10 any night, right? He can play you some defense. And so I really love the Cavs, team there. I think they have Max Strus coming off the bench there, who is a phenomenal shooter, and he's been to the finals with Miami just 2 years ago. So Cleveland is the only really team that is very interesting. It's crazy to say in an Eastern Conference with Giannis and a New York team, right? And the reigning champion Boston Celtics, that the Cavs are really one of the most interesting teams to watch. And LeBron is not on the roster, right? And so this is the first time since like the early 90s without LeBron that the Cleveland Cavaliers, are making a really dominant force. And they are really, in my opinion, the only team that can beat Boston. But with Cleveland, it's just Cleveland, right? And D. Mitchell, like, can they take over the hump? But then it gets really interesting because, Justin, the Clippers are on fire. And it's like, it's so crazy to me. Like, there's so much storyline. It's like PG, right? At the offseason in 2019 into 2020, he is like one of the most coveted free agents. He goes there and it's, LA's like, no, we need to make another move, right? And let's get Kawhi. But in the middle of that, they trade away a guy that no one is talking about, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's, by the way, the number 1 seed, most likely to win MVP, but yet they might meet a former franchise cornerstone player, James Harden, which James Harden is going against Russell Westbrook in the first round, and winner is going to go to Oklahoma City, right? And it's so much storyline. But then Justin, you got Luka Doncic, right? This time last year, he was on a roll, right? They beat the Clippers in the first round. They beat the Thunder in the second round. And then they beat Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals, which Luka, once again, is matched up. But wait a minute, he's not wearing the Dallas Mavericks color. He's wearing the purple and gold, one of the most iconic looks jerseys in all of sports, right? The Lakers. And it's like, me and you, Justin, were sitting in a room last year, and we're like, hey, let's watch the playoffs next year. And we turn on the game, and it's like, oh, okay, LeBron's in the playoffs again. Well, wait, where's AD? Wait, is that Luka? Luka was in the finals, and it's just mind-blowing that Luka, he's showboating. He had a great series last year against Minnesota, won the Western Conference MVP, cooked Rudy Gobert, and now, there he is. And then, Justin, it's our Rockets. Finally, Justin, our rebuild is complete. And it's like we're 90% going to be playing Golden State. And Justin, that is the team that has kept us away from winning trophies in our era, right? 2015, we had that team with Dwight Howard, Jason Terry, Josh Smith, with James Harden, second in the MVP voting, but we lose. We almost get swept against Golden State. This happened this time 10 years ago, right? In 2015, Golden State was taken off, right? And then, it's crazy how this storyline's kind of playing. A lot of NBA fans are not realizing what this Western Conference has so much juicy details. And one last thing, one minor detail, the Mavericks did trade away their future. They did lose Kyrie Irving, but they still have a chance to be a playoff team and to face the Thunder. And it's just so much storyline in the West, not really compared to the East. But Justin, I'm really curious to see what happens in the West because we're kind of already penciling in Boston in the finals, right, come June, but maybe Cleveland. And it's just so interesting seeing that Cleveland is the number 1 seed without LeBron. And it's like so much storyline here. Miami without Jimmy Butler. Now Jimmy Butler is, the plane. He would have been in the plane regardless in Miami or, in Golden State. And then the coaching firing. One last thing before I get back to you, that the coaches being fired. You got Sacramento firing Mike Brown. You got Memphis firing Taylor Jenkins. The reigning champions of 2 years ago, right? The Denver Nuggets, the last Western Conference team to win the finals, firing their head coach. And it's just so interesting to see, Justin. It's a lot of details and storylines going into the playoffs that a lot of NBA fans are not really paying attention to. Luckily, we have Dween Sports here breaking it down for you. But Justin, these playoffs are going to be much more popcorn than the fans expect.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. And I love the storylines that you're pointing out here. Even that, like, Jimmy Butler a few years ago was kind of possibly destined to come to Houston. He's a Houston native. Now he's on Golden State. Golden State most likely is going to come face-to-face with us, the Houston Rockets, in round 1 of the playoffs. I mean, Houston obviously coming off 4 years of not going to the playoffs, losing 60-plus games. And they finally get their shot here again. And I feel like they're almost an afterthought for a lot of teams, even though they're the number 2 seed. And everything you're laying out, I feel like the East to me has Cleveland and Boston, and you could maybe argue the Knicks, but I really think there's really only 2 contenders in the East. But the West, I could see the Thunder. I could see Denver, relying on Jokic and Jamal. I know their coach is new, but they have a chance that they could be just as good as they've been. The Clippers obviously are on the hottest team in the NBA right now. The Lakers, as you mentioned, LeBron and Luka. What else do you need to say? Houston is the youngest. Their defense is phenomenal. Ime Udoka was in the finals a couple years ago, leading Boston. Now he's got this new young roster here. And then Golden State, of course, will probably find themselves here in the playoffs. They're the dynasty. They're on the back half of their dynasty, but hey, they're still playing good. They just traded for Jimmy Butler at the deadline. Wow. I mean, this NBA playoffs actually, I think, might be one of the most exciting setups that we've seen in a long while, because there's a lot of different contenders, new faces on new teams. I love that you mentioned that with Harden versus Westbrook. Winner goes to Oklahoma City. That is crazy stuff. Shea could play his old team in the Clippers, or he was traded from in the massive trade, or he goes head-to-head with the second MVP finalist in Nikola Jokic. We are just ready and excited and have our popcorn, our wings. Shout out B-Dubs. Shout out Buffalo Wild Wings. We're still waiting to hear back from y'all. But yeah, I'll be watching all games across the board, even the play-ins. And then, yes, Saturday comes on. I'm going to have 2 TVs. One is watching some NBA basketball playoffs. One, we got WrestleMania on this weekend as well. Screens will be out, maybe more than 2 screens. Comment below. I want to see everybody's layout here. I could see 5 screens, 6 screens, multi-views. Everything's coming out. We're rolling out everything for NBA playoffs, for WrestleMania, for Easter weekend. Super excited, guys. Keep watching. Stay tuned. We have more episodes down the week. We're obviously continuing our off-season deep dive for the NFL. Obviously, the draft's next week, so we got some mock drafts rolling out as well. We're going to drop some WrestleMania predictions. We're going to be active on TikTok discussing predictions, winners, discussions from each of these games and how playoff brackets are set up game by game across the 365 days per year, 7 days a week. We are up and running. Dween Sports is. Thank you guys for listening so much. This was a lot of fun. And Janoah, send us out.
Yo, Dween Nation. This was our playoff predictions for the 2025 NBA playoffs. We're so excited to see how this turned out. And Justin, we can come back here in a month or so, and everybody out there in Dween Nation, and see how right we were and how possibly little wrong we were. Right? We're human. We get little things wrong, right? But we believe that one of us, Justin and I, are gonna have this right, because we're Dween Sports. This is how we do it here. But thank you guys for watching. We love you guys, and as always, peace.